In 1978, one single inaccurate developing move was enough to decide Game 8 of the championship. In Baguio City, under enormous political and psychological pressure, Anatoly Karpov needed only 28 moves to strike the first decisive blow of the match. Anatoly Karpov, only 27 years old, had become world champion in 1975 after Bobby Fischer refused to defend his title. His challenger, Viktor Korchnoi, was 47 years old and already a legendary chess player. The match was played under the rule that the first player who has 6 wins would become world champion in chess. The result was a match of 32 games. Game 8 was the first win of the match. Anatoly Karpov opened the game with the move pawn to e4. And Viktor Korchnoi played pawn to e5. We have knight to f3 from white and knight to c6 from black. Now Karpov moves the bishop to b5, and the response of black was pawn to a6. We enter the Ruy Lopez, one of the most deeply analyzed openings in chess history. The bishop moves back to a4, and the response of black was knight to f6. Kingside castle from white, and black captures the pawn on e4. Black goes for the open variation of the Ruy Lopez, a line Korchnoi played frequently. By capturing on e4, black accepts structural risks in return for activity. Now d4 from white and b5 from black. The bishop moves to b3 and we have d5 from black. White immediately challenges the center. Black correctly returns the extra pawn. Trying to hold on to it would be strategically dangerous. White captures on e5 and the black bishop comes to e6. The pawn on d5 was hanging, so black protects it by developing the bishop. So far, everything follows well-known theory. Karpov moves the knight from b to d2, and the black knight comes to c5. Pawn to c3 was played by white. The pawn move to c3 is very important. It controls d4 and gives the bishop on b3 a safe retreat square. Up to this point, we are still in the main line of the open Spanish. Now we have pawn to g6 from black. This is a serious inaccuracy. Developing the dark squared bishop this way is too slow for this sharp position. In this position, black should play maybe bishop to e7, pawn to d4, knight captures on b3, or bishop to g4. This single move of the pawn to g6 gives Karpov the chance to seize the initiative. Karpov plays in this position queen to e2. Black follows his plan and moves the bishop to g7. Now we have knight to d4 from white, and after that Korchnoi captures the pawn on e5. From white perspective, the move knight to d4 is an excellent centralizing move. White deliberately sacrifices the pawn on e5 to accelerate development and open lines. Now we have from white pawn to f4. Korchnoi follows his plan and played knight to c4. This is not a good move. Much stronger was knight from e to d3, which would have offered better defensive chances. Even so, white plans remains unchanged, a direct kingside attack. We have pawn to f5 and black captures this pawn. Black has no real choice but to capture on f5. The white knight takes now as planned on f5. Korchnoi's answer is rook to g8. If black castles here instead of playing rook to g8, the game ends very quickly. Rook to g8 is forced, but it already shows how exposed the black king has become. After the last move of black, Karpov captures the knight on c4 and black recaptures with the d-pawn to c4. Now we have from white bishop to c2. White removed the knight on c4 and opens the diagonal for the light squared bishop. Every white piece now joins the attack. Knight to d3 from black. And now the fun began. Bishop to h6. What should play black here in this position? Korchnoi's decision was bishop to f8. This is a critical moment. Black should have captured the bishop on h6. Declining it allows white attack to grow. Also worth noting, queen to g4 would have been a very strong attacking move here as well. We have rook from a to d1. All white pieces are now perfectly placed. The black king is stuck in the center and black's position is already close to hopeless. We have from Korchnoi queen to d5 now. The white bishop captures on d3, black recaptures, and the white rook captures also on d3. The black queen has to move. Korchnoi's decision is to move the queen to c6. Black's queen must stay on this diagonal to avoid immediate defeat. The pawn on a2 cannot be captured, as that would lead to forced loss. It is no question, Karpov has a winning position. He captured now the bishop on f8. Black gives a check on b6 and the white king moves to the corner. Now it's time for black to recapture the bishop on f8. If you like, pause the video and try to find the continuation the computer would play now. I will give you some seconds. Yes, rook to d7 is in this position a killer move. White's attack is overwhelming. Karpov saw that motive a bit later. In this position he played queen to f3. We have from black rook to e8, knight to h6 from white, rook to g7, and now Karpov plays the killer move rook to d7. Even in this position a brilliant move. White can afford this because if the rook is captured, a queen sacrifice on f7 leads to mate. Black has no choice. Korchnoi played rook to b8. The white knight captures now on f7. Black captures with the bishop on d7. And finally, we had knight to d8 with check. At this point, Black resigned. Checkmate is unavoidable, and Korchnoi saw no reason to continue. This game is a very good example of Karpov's positional precision transforming seamlessly into a devastating attack. A single inaccurate developing move by Korchnoi was enough for Karpov to take full control. It was not only a brilliant win, it was the first decisive game of the 1978 World Championship. Thank you for watching one of the most important games of this championship. If you enjoyed this game, take a moment to like the video. It helps the channel to grow, so that I can present more high-quality content. I would also love to hear your thoughts. Which moment do you consider the critical turning point of this game? Was it move 10 of Black? Or the powerful kingside push with f4 and f5? Share your ideas and maybe alternative lines in the comments below. See you in the next game. Bye for now.